Hello everybody, my name's Wolf. If this is your first time here, this is where I explain the crazy, over-the-top world of Warhammer 40,000 that nerds like me love so much. In this particular series, we're looking at the combat patrol boxes and what to do with them. So, settle in, grab a drink, and prepare for a Noob-Splaining session. Hello folks, and welcome to this week's video. Although technically not a combat patrol guide, the subject of this week's video definitely fits in with this series, because today we're looking at the Kroot Hunting Patrol for Magnus the Swede, which was a request. So hey Magnus, how you doing? Don't forget, if you want to shout out, have a request for a topic, or want to ask me anything, just email me on the address in the description. Don't worry, I don't sell your information, I'm not allowed to in this country. So, this Kroot Hunting Patrol box seems to be basically a Combat Patrol 2.0. And as such, I'm going to do this video a little different. So first we're going to see what you get, which explains the 2.0, then we have a recap of the lore around the contents, and then I'll talk to you about what you should do with what's in the box and what to get next. So, in this box you get 1 Kroot Warshaper, 1 Kroot Flesh Shaper, 20 Kroot Carnivores, 1 Krootox Rider, and 3 Krootox Rampagers. You also get 44 Tau data cards and the 136 page Tau codex with a unique artwork and a one-time use code to unlock the codex on your Warhammer 40,000 app. Now I've always wondered if those codes are really a one-time use, as that's a lot of codes to produce for each box, or if Games Workshop just say that so we don't share them with our friends. If anyone has one of these codex codes that they've used, please email me so I can test that theory out, or if you have already tested it out, let me know in the comments. So the nice thing here is we're getting the data cards and the Tau codex as well as a combat patrol sized force, so definitely starter box 2.0. The one downside here, and I'm pretty much going to quote, well paraphrase, Pancras no work here, who is so sarcastic he should be an honorary Brit, but basically if you're going to do a Tau starter set, put some fucking Tau in it. Pretty much every combat patrol I have done, I've been saying how the characters are way better in melee than ranged, and I could not wait to get round to the Tau one and say finally a ranged character. And what do Games Workshop do? Release a Tau box set with no fucking Tau and instead pack it full of only the units and the whole fucking faction that can actually fucking melee. Anyway, on with the lore. The Tau are by far the youngest of the races in the 40k universe, both in-game and in terms of releases. I think only the Leagues of Votann and the Knights are more recent, but technically both of those factions have been in the game since way before the Horus Heresy. You see, the Imperium discovered the Tau about 3,000 years ago-ish, but found them to be a primitive people still in their Stone Age, so marked the planet down as it will do later as they had bigger things to deal with, namely another fucking Tyranid hive fleet. I would say send in the Ultramarines to deal with it, but they seem to have conveniently forgotten how to fight Tyranids, after coming up with the tactical doctrines on how to fight fucking Tyranids. Anyway, in the space of around 3,000 years, the Tau went from cavemen to becoming by far the most powerful ranged army on the tabletop, with a nicely growing empire, and for years the Tau railgun was the most devastating weapon on the tabletop. I now rank it at the 3rd, so with over 15 factions and multitudes of weapons, it's still pretty fucking good. Unlike the other factions that are best highly xenophobic, and at worst downright psychotically xenophobic, the Tau Empire is more diverse than the DEI policy of a Californian college or a AAA video games roster. Seriously, every fucker is welcome to join the Tau, and that includes humans. The bar is so low and the door so open, even the people who drink in my local bar could join the fucking Tau Empire. When the Ethereals showed up and took over the Tau suddenly advanced really fast, founding the Empire and kickstarted their technological progress into the most effective ranged army in the whole of 40k. Many outsiders suspect the Ethereals use some form of subtle psychic persuasion, as everything every member of the Tau Empire does is for the greater good.
The greater good.
That is, as long as the greater good means the Ethereals stay in power, and the rest of the Empire do their bidding, which is of course for the greater good.
The greater good.
Oh come on, you didn't expect me to make a Tau video and not include that soundbite, did you? If you did, I have a bridge across the River Thames for sale. Anyway, the Tau Empire has many different races, all working for the greater good.
The greater good.
However, we only see 4 on the tabletop. The first is the Ethereals, who are the leaders and we only see them as characters. Next we have the Vespid, which are flying insect things and act as fast moving attack troops. Then we have the main Tau race themselves, who are the most numerical of the races in the Empire, with them, being the actual fucking Tau, who are blue-skinned and love the greater good.
Shut it!
But unfortunately, the Tau are that good with ranged weapons, and their ranged weapons are that fucking devastatingly powerful, most of them forgot what a fucking combat knife is, as this video clearly demonstrates. I mean, who needs to use a knife when you can just shoot the balls off a mosquito at 1,000 yards? As you can see, the Tau themselves have a very anime/Battletech style, and for a very good reason. That's exactly who they were aimed at. Anime fans and or Battletech players to get more people into the 40k hobby. The one thing they lack though is their ability to both take a punch and fucking throw one. Seriously, the average Tau warrior has less chance of survivability in melee than a choir boy at a Catholic priest convention. It's okay, little fire warrior, go with the priests, it's all for the greater good.
How can this be for the greater good? The greater good. Shut it!
So that's where the second biggest race in the Tau Empire come in, the Kroot. An animalistic, savage-looking race that use the following words in this order exclusively. I am Kroot. Wait a fucking minute, Victor! I cancelled Disney Plus when they fired Gina Carano. Have you been pirating the Guardians of the Galaxy? Again? If so, whereabouts on the hard drives did you hide the films? Because they're actually pretty good. This is a public service announcement to all copyright enforcement agencies. There are definitely no illegal downloads of any movies, TV series or music and games stored on this PC. And definitely not the recent WWE WrestleMania 40. Anyway, the Kroot are actually probably more articulate than me, which isn't that hard, and also quite advanced. They do also, however, have the ability to eat an opponent and then evolve themselves based on what they ate. So eat something with wings, they get wings. Eat something that moves really fast, you get a speed buff. In reality though, that ability to evolve only translates to a feel no pain save on the tabletop, which is a shame, as having a unit suddenly start flying halfway through the game would be pretty awesome. Right, so let's take a look at what you do with what's in the box. Now unfortunately, I don't have this box yet, and some of the units are exclusive to the Tau Codex, which I also don't own yet, so I'm going to have to take a best guess at some of it. Now the Kroot Carnivores are about the only infantry unit in the entire Tau Codex that can do melee, and they can be formed into either a squad of 20 or 2 squads of 10. I would guess they're supposed to be played in the squad of 20 with both the War Shaper and the Flesh Shaper in the squad. The Flesh Shaper gives them all a Feel No Pain of 6+, which is basically an invulnerable save of 6+, but also protects against mortal wounds, where a normal invulnerable save doesn't. What's more, if any unit killed an enemy unit in the fight phase this turn, that save becomes a 4+. The Kroot Carnivores are average infantry at ranged and slightly above average at melee, but they're still not at Space Marine levels. But then that's why you get 20 of the little fuckers and not 5 or 10. The War Shaper is a new unit that is exclusive to the Codex, so I'm guessing while in the unit he buffs them too. It might even be a case of you have to split the Carnivores into 2 squads, each being led by the War Shaper or the Flesh Shaper respectively. Good possibility as well the War Shaper might be a solo character unit. It does look like a bit of a beast in melee. The Krootox Rider is, according to the box description, your firepower, but with only 2 attacks at strength 7, it's not the biggest gun in a combat patrol box, especially as it only has a toughness 5, 4 wounds and a really pathetic 6+ save, so pretty meh for a big gun. If this is meant to rival a Dreadnought, any Dreadnought would smash its face in. Next we have the Krootox Ravagers, which are the line breakers according to the box, and I expect them to have some kind of lance weapon, or they get extra attacks or damage when they charge, similar to how the Khorne Riders do. The other thing that I found interesting, pretty much every unit appears to have Scout 7 inches, and some even have stealth, including the Flesh Shaper and the Carnivores, so the Flesh Shaper is definitely meant to lead the Carnivores at least. Initial thoughts on this is a fast moving melee based army, so set them all up as far forward as you can, then use that Scout ability when both sides have finished setting up to move them all another further 7 inches in. They're not the toughest of units, but are obviously meant to get into melee and chop the enemy up, but there is a little caveat to that. The rest of the Tau army is meant to shoot the shit out of the enemy first, so they can easily chop shit up. So you do this by shooting them with the... Okay, Timmy, Victor, give me a fucking clue. Where's that fucking Tau in this fucking Tau box set? Gone on Easter holidays? Gone to Lanzarote? Gone for the greater good?
The greater good.
Oh, you can get greater fucked in the neck. Overall, this idea of a combat patrol box that went from 95 quid to 135 to include the codex is a great idea, I feel. Or $160 to $220 if you're over the pond. The problem is the contents of this box. While the Kroot are good in melee, not great, just good, they require a lot of fire support, and the whole point of Tau is overwhelming firepower before you send the Kroot in. This seems to me more like a box set for current Tau players who haven't yet got the 10th edition codex and need more Kroot, and it's not a good starting point for new Tau players. Now, if you're one of the 15 or so Tau players, let me know if I'm right. I am joking about there only being 15 Tau players. I doubt it's even in double figures. Now, the idea of combat patrol boxes with data cards and a codex I really like, but if Games Workshop keep fucking them up like this one, these boxes won't last long. It won't surprise me if someone at Games Workshop sabotaged this as they felt they were giving away too much stuff in one box. The Tau are renowned within the Warhammer 40k community for having the best pew pew shooty stuff, and not a single part of that is here. It's almost like they just want to sell you a codex and some data cards and, oh, and here's some models you might or might not actually use. I feel thoroughly let down by this box set, and I don't even own it. I feel so bad about this box set, I don't even think the Rescue Hamster could cheer me up at this point. I hope someone emails me a better suggestion for next week. Sorry Magnus the Swede, but what seemed like a promising box set didn't just fail to get out the starting gates, it sat in the starting gate smoking meth wondering what the fuck's going on. Like I said, in my Tau box set, I want some fucking Tau. You know, the motherfuckers who have all the big guns and the cool armour. Which reminds me, what is it with Space Marines not wearing fucking helmets? Seriously, you get promoted to the head of the Terminators, and what's the first thing you do? Leave your helmet in the armoury, for fuck's sakes. Anyway, but yes, big guns, so that's really where you should start. Get some Fire Warriors and then a load of the fucking big crisis suits, and from there depends what you're up against, whether you need more guns or melee support, and if it is melee support, then perhaps this box set after all is for you. But to be honest, I wouldn't recommend it as a starting point. And there we have it folks, that brings us to the end of another video. If you made it this far, thank you very much. If you would like a shout out in one of my videos, then just email me on the email address in the description. Also, please check out my links for Baron of Dice and Element Games, and if you really want, you can buy me a coffee. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who could do with some Noob-Splaining in their life.